right. Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. Morning, Rhys.
Good afternoon, Monica. How are you?
I'm good. I have a ginormous mug of tea because it's 8 in the morning here. So, yeah. I know these. Well, at least it's better than the last early morning one when we had just done our move the night before. So that
was tough, eh?
That was brutal. We missed you last week. We're glad you're feeling better, though.
I am. Thank you. But as people have commented, you did a wonderful job of tutorials. It was
Yes.
it was a fun one to. Even if I was just in chat poking away, it was a nice one to watch.
It is nice that even when we're like sick or on paid time off, we still go to each other's office hours, because it is nice to just sit with your phone and like curl up somewhere and watch this. So to anybody watching, we hope you are comfy and we're glad that you're here. So please say hi in the chat, whether you are on YouTube or Twitch. An exciting Twitch just got a shiny new Linux tag.
Yeah, it did. And I think, are we using that today? I think we're using that today, right?
Awesome. If not, we totally should.
We totally should be. Yeah, we'll sort that out. So before we crack on and we have our guest to introduce, which we will do in a moment, just some quick things that have been happening in the community lately. I've got a few notes here. There's the UbuCon Asia call for proposals closed yesterday, so hopefully we'll get some nice, interesting information about what's going to happen next from them soon. I've seen some interesting movement from the Mir guys, the Mir folks who are working on the kiosk. It's been renamed to Ubuntu Frame now. I don't think that's been announced generally, but it's been pootled around in the forum, so everyone who's listened to this will already know. Ubuntu Frame. It's an interesting little name.
Yeah.
The wallpaper competition's still going on. It's
going strong.
Submissions. So if you've still got ideas for the wallpaper competition and you're listening to this, you should absolutely go in there and do it. There's some really great ones. I'm really impressed.
It's going to be really hard to pick our top 10. It's going to be people. We are going to have a hard. I mean by the community, we're going to have a hard vote.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky, but some of them are good. But still, no macaroni art. If anyone wants to go ahead and do the macaroni art, they'll get them. Yeah. And before, I'll say this again at the end, but before we get started, next week, Monica will be taking part in a company-wide sprint, and I will be on some vacation time. So we won't be doing a normal office hours with a guest or anything like that. And we're thinking we'll just do a sort of a game session. Is that right, Monica?
Yes, and actually I created a new discourse post to say, hey, help us pick out what we should play, because I've got some ideas and I think you actually liked it. So I'm going to go ahead and share that in the comments here.
Awesome.
So let us know in things that are good for multiplayer, things that can be obviously played on Linux would be really good, and so things that are just kind of easy, fun. I am going to be a little bit out of it probably by the end of the day, so things that don't take too much brain power as well. Always fun. But it's great to see a bunch of you in the chat. So yeah, so that's pretty exciting. So
okay, so I'm looking over here for a moment just so I can get a tweet out about this from the Ubuntu account.
Excellent.
But without further ado, Monica, why don't you introduce what's going on?
All right. So our guest this week, we're going to go ahead and bring her in. Everybody say hello to Zanna.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you
Zanna.
for joining us. You're welcome. And she is a moderator at Ask Ubuntu, which is a website I am sure we have all used many times. So thank you so much for coming out. So, and she is also, we want to give a shout out to the Ubuntu Hideout because she is also on there, and and it's really been great to be able to interact with people from all over the Ubuntu community there. So thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Of course. So how long have you been kind of using Ubuntu? How did you get started? Kind of what was your first, especially for Rhys and I who are kind of new, I think it's always fun to be to talk to people who have been using it a bit longer than us.
Well, I kind of started using it recently as well, but like, I don't want to like give the false impression that I'm like a sort of ancient Linux veteran, but like kind of way back when I was at university, like I was living with someone who had a whole bunch of like crappy old computers that he had salvaged from the college that he was at. And he was always trying to get something to run on those things. And this is like 2005, 6, 7, I don't know. Like, so he was like trying to run like OpenSUSE, and Ubuntu was one of the distros that he was running. And kind of in discussion with him, I kind of got interested in the idea of free software. Like I was totally down with that whole idea, like the free software. I was kind of sold on that, but at the same time, like I was not really a computer person then. Like I didn't want to spend my time like trying to get something to run on a bunch of old servers or whatever. So I just assumed that was not for me. So like kind of fast forward to, I think. Kind of 2014, 15. Like then I was using Windows on this like little netbook that I had. And I was like so ready to use Linux. I was like, I'm really going to switch to Linux. And I was like asking my my friends, my brother and stuff, and they were like, yeah, Ubuntu is really good now. You can totally use it. You don't have to be like a massive geek. Although I am a massive geek. Yeah. I don't So yeah, like eventually that netbook just died, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the moment. I'm gonna switch to Linux. So
what was pushing you away from the netbook? What's the why as to why you thought Linux?
It was like really more like the netbook wasn't that bad. Like it totally did its job. I was just like really pulled towards Linux. I really just wanted to use Linux. I just kind of got more and more interested in like what was going on with that. Yeah. So, although it did take half an hour to boot, which sucked. We actually get a lot of questions on Ask Ubuntu kind of complaining about the slow boot time people are getting, and they're like, my laptop takes like 2 minutes to boot on Ubuntu, and I'm like, 2 minutes?
You're like, sit down, let me
yeah, exactly. Like, why don't you just get yourself a cup of something? Not that bad, right? But yeah, anyway, so where was I? So I was like super determined to use Ubuntu, and I was so determined that I kind of went through a lot of pain to get there. Like,
oh no!
I bought this. It's okay. It's all good. So I bought this kind of this netbook, this other netbook, this like low spec, small, light laptop. I just wanted something that was really portable because of the way I was working, and it was the Asus X205TA. I don't know if anyone is like having horrible flashbacks.
I'm sure somebody in the chat or watching this afterwards will probably just be cringing in pain.
It was not a comfortable device to use Linux on at that time. So I bought that in, it was like August 2015, September 2015. And like I knew nothing. I was absolutely clueless. And like it was kind of impossible to boot with like the kind of the normal installation, because like for some reason it insists on booting with 32-bit UEFI, and even though the system could be 64-bit. And at the time, that was just not supported at all by or at least by Grub, the bootloader that comes with
bootloader, yeah.
So like I would install it, and then I would have a choice between the UEFI, like the firmware interface, and the Grub command line. Like those are the two things that I could access for like a week. And like after like a whole lot of like effort to like understand what the instructions that I was reading actually meant, because there was like fortunately like a really long and wonderful thread written by very wonderful people on Ubuntu forums about like how to get Ubuntu to run on this device, and some great instructions and stuff. But like I didn't understand those instructions because I didn't know anything. So I was like, I would like type the commands that had been given, and I just didn't understand like how to adapt those commands to my system, because I didn't know what they meant. So like kind of after a week, I like understood what those commands meant well enough to like boot the system and then compile Grub. So I compiled Grub. That was my kind of first install Ubuntu experience.
Wow.
And you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just want to pause for a second and say that's not a common experience. Like many people install Linux these days and it just works. It just wasn't the case for me.
Yeah. We've got a comment here that somebody's saying that they had a weak netbook and had a hard time running anything too.
Yeah, like, I mean, in my case, like, it was a kind of a low spec netbook, but like, I will say that it's not so much that it was weak as that it was new. Like, this is like a really common experience, I understand, with Linux, that you buy some new hardware and it doesn't work properly because like the manufacturers of all the components and stuff, they're just not interested in like providing support for Linux. Like, so people like the amazing Linux community have to like gradually hack and patch their way to like making the new stuff usable. So like with that netbook, like the first experience was not great, but like gradually it improved. Like when a few months later, I installed 1604, and that it just installed. I didn't have to compile Grub. So
nice.
That was good.
Yeah, that is, and it's finding kind of that Goldilocks zone between old enough that there's enough collective experience there and enough time that people know how to make it work on that, but not so old that we just
yeah. But I think like also, people do have, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think people do have like a better experience like trying to run Linux on like crappy old hardware than like they have like trying to install Windows or like stuff like that on old hardware. Like Linux is pretty kind to like your kind of low spec machines and stuff. Like
definitely, and it's probably worth mentioning as well that there's a lot of machines from folks like Dell, Lenovo, and HP do work straight away these days with the new stuff.
Exactly.
I love this new thing, so I keep trying to push it wherever I can. So I'm going to push it here. There's a new sort of addition to the Ubuntu.com website, which is ubuntu.com/certified, which has all of those things.
That's
if anyone's
great.
looking for things that do for sure just work,
I was totally looking for that when I was buying that netbook, and like that was really there then. So like that's why I was stupid and bought the wrong thing. But in a way, like it was good because like I had that kind of yes experience of getting it to work.
It's alive.
Yeah, but it's but as when I started, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a ThinkPad, because if you listen to the Ubuntu podcast long enough, you're just obligated to get a ThinkPad if you don't have one. But I really wanted to try one of the Ubuntu out-of-the-box ones, and it took this thing 3 weeks to get to me, but it was really neat to see what that experience would be like for maybe somebody who hadn't used Ubuntu before, and to have it just run right out of the box, which was really neat. So yeah, that was just like, oh, that was a very cool experience. And then I'm sure at some point I'll do the obligatory get on eBay and find some old ThinkPad to kind of to kind of put things on. But yeah, but my speaking about old hardware, my husband has like an HP laptop that is like 10, 12 years old, and he has Ubuntu Mate 2004 on that thing, and it runs great. So
yeah, my dad has a really, really ancient laptop as well, and he's using Linux Mint on there, and it works way better than any of the Windows things that it would run in the past. So
nice. So that is a really cool story, and I love how you kind of had like the the Linux kernel planted way back then in
and also like the word Ubuntu. Like when I first heard about the word Ubuntu, I was so inspired by that, and I really carried that with me, just like the kind of awareness of the fact of interdependence, that we all need each other. Like that's such a kind of almost a radical idea in the kind of very competitive kind of culture. So I was like kind of so excited to kind of use Linux with that kind of idea in mind.
Yeah, that is really great. So, and it's really neat to see that even though you got started in like 2015, that it had kind of been on your mind for like 10 years. And so, and that's it's one of those things. So if there's anyone out there who might be listening who has thought about getting into it for a while, it's never too late to get started.
Yeah, and it's also so easy these days.
Exactly, and especially with sites like Ask Ubuntu. So, so how did you start? So, what got you started on kind of this path to becoming a moderator for that site? Did you start out with like the forums, or how did that go?
Yeah,
maybe for people who've seen this for the first time or anything like that, maybe you could even give a little introduction to what Ask Ubuntu is, and then go into how the moderation thing came along.
That makes sense.
And I'll put a link in the chat.
I'll try to explain how Ask Ubuntu works, which is like in a really weird and silly way. But yeah,
style here.
So yeah, as you mentioned, Monica, I started out kind of getting help on the Ask Ubuntu forums, which is an awesome place to go if you kind of need like walking through step by step how the hell to get Linux to work on this hardware or whatever. But like what happened like several months after I installed Ubuntu, I was just happily going along like, yay, Ubuntu works. And then suddenly my touchpad stopped working. It just stopped working. It was a kernel update. So like the old kernel still worked. My touchpad still worked on the old kernel. So I was kind of like searching online to like figure out how to solve that problem, because I was still pretty clueless. So I kind of stumbled on Ask Ubuntu that way. So I was like just searching for stuff. I would find like stuff on Ubuntu forums and on Ask Ubuntu. And kind of Ubuntu forums is awesome, but like it also has like a lot of like issues with like difficulty in formatting posts properly and stuff. And like also like the kind of questions that you can have again and again and again. It's not that easy to like find the answer on like page 7 of the thread or whatever. And that's kind of like where Ask Ubuntu really shines, like, because like the idea of it is that it's a question and answer site. So you ask a question and people will kind of provide solutions to that problem or answer that question. And like there's a voting system, so the answers that work for people hopefully will like rise to the top. And so hopefully when you like what our kind of dream at Ask Ubuntu, or my dream, is that anyone who has a problem with Ubuntu will search for it in a search engine, and they'll land on the page on Ask Ubuntu, and the answer will be there already. They won't have to do anything. So like what kind of the point of Ask Ubuntu is, what we're trying to do is create a library of questions and answers about all those kind of Ubuntu related stuff. Yeah. So like, sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to. I'm just going to agree, and actually pulled something up here that Chris said in the YouTube chat, that all places can be helpful, but Ask Ubuntu can be easy to read and easy to find the information. And you're right, it is like this library, and it's kind of like but it's a library that has a really easy directory to find things.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like, yes. It's easier. I think it's easier to like find the actual answer that's going to work on a site like Ask Ubuntu. Like Ask Ubuntu is part of the Stack Exchange network, which started with Stack Overflow, and the sort of Stack Overflow is like the first site there. And I think that the founders created it. Kind of read some stuff that they wrote, like how you could find the answer to your problem, but it would be on like the 5th page of the thread. It would be in Japanese. It would create a huge security hole. So like they sort of created the question and answer kind of format site to kind of make that problem better.
Yeah.
So like I was discovering Ask Ubuntu at that point when I was trying to get my touchpad to work. And and like what I discovered thanks to Ask Ubuntu is that you can use the configuration file for Grub to force the Grub menu to appear. So that would allow me to like reliably boot the older kernel. And for some reason, I don't know why, it was just that small piece of magic that you could like just put one character in this file and suddenly your problem would be solved, or at least temporarily solved. Like that just inspired me. That just blew my mind. Like at that point, I was like, wow, the power of the command line, and also like how it's really quite simple to use. I was just kind of hooked then, and like I also got really hooked on Ask Ubuntu because I wanted to learn more about the command line really, and like Ask Ubuntu is a really great place to learn stuff. Like. Because like you'll kind of see people's questions and you'll be like, okay, I don't really know the answer to this question, but like I think I know enough to figure it out. So you would go and do some research and like do some testing and stuff, and you'd find the answer to the question. So that's really how I learned like basically everything I know about Linux. It was just trying to find answers to people's questions on Ask Ubuntu. So.
That's a really interesting story, and something that I think I've heard a few times from people who are sort of prominent in the community. I know Alan, I know Popey has a similar story where he started just by answering questions, and just if he didn't know the answer, well, he'd just go and find the answer and figure it out. So that's really great.
Yeah. Like, sorry, go on.
Oh, and I was just saying that it's that. Of all the ways of kind of community-based learning, of learning together, of learning through helping people solve a problem, just seems like, man, it's so warm and fuzzy, and it just it's that very Ubuntu philosophy there. So
yeah, exactly, like so I kind of started using Ask Ubuntu in 2016, and kind of what's so addictive about it is like the sort of gamification. So it's like really cleverly gamified, so that you'll be like, oh, I can earn reputation points, and then I'll be able to do this thing, and then I'll be able to do that thing, and like it's not that obvious, but like what is gamified is moderation. So like all the privileges that you get, the abilities that you get are like ways to improve the site. So like you'll get enough reputation that you can upvote posts. Eventually you get enough reputation that you can downvote posts. You get enough reputation that you can edit posts without your edit suggestions having to be approved. Because like kind of like almost my favorite thing about the Ask Ubuntu model is like you can edit people's posts. So like Ask Ubuntu uses Markdown, like the whole Stack Exchange uses Markdown formatting. which is wonderful. But like a lot of first-time users, they don't know how to do it. So like their posts will like look kind of messed up. So you'll like just edit it and fix the formatting, and then everything looks great. So
everything's much more clearer. Is that how you became a moderator, or was there more of a sort of a formal thing? Did you just get enough reputation that one day you were a moderator?
Oh no! So like moderators are elected. So like I mean, like when I say moderators, I mean like diamond moderators. Kind of everyone's a moderator. Everyone kind of using the site as a moderator, because like if you're casting votes, then you're moderating. Like that's part of moderation. Editing especially, that's probably the biggest part of moderation in my view. But yeah, like as you get more reputation, you end up getting like delete votes, and so you can like delete votes on stuff that is really, really bad and should be destroyed. But like there's a system to elect moderators who have got like more powers to delete stuff. Like basically can delete anything I want. like before it would be like users who've got 20,000 reputation points can like vote to delete answers, and it still takes 3 of them. But when you're a moderator, you can delete anything. So that's like a high level of trust. So like the community will elect moderators on a kind of need basis. Like the existing moderator team will be like, hey, we need some more mods, and then the kind of Stack Exchange staff, they'll arrange an election, and then the whole community, if they have like enough reputation to cast a vote, which is 150, which is not that much, that's quite easy to get that much. They'll be able to like cast votes, and yeah, the moderators will get elected on that basis. And then you get superpowers.
Then you get superpowers. Nice. Yeah. Is Ask Ubuntu well sort of well related or integrated with the Stack Exchange people? Is it a close communication if they're running elections and stuff?
Yeah. Like it's part of the Stack Exchange network. So like the people who make it, who like fix the bugs and like arrange the elections, and even occasionally who like come to Meta. So I'll explain what Meta is. Like Ask Ubuntu or Stack Exchange sites in general are so weird and complicated and difficult to use that we need a whole extra site to like
just to explain it.
Ask questions about the site and talk about the site. So that's Meta. So every Stack Exchange site has a Meta. So there's Ask Ubuntu Meta. So like sometimes the community managers who are like actually employees of Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow, I think the company is called now, will like come and like answer stuff on Meta occasionally. Although in general, that's kind of supposed to be a moderator job. I mean, we get notified about all the new Meta posts, but also like anyone can post on Meta as long as they've got 5 reputation or something like that. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. Oh, there's an echo.
It might just be I can hear some kind of car alarm or something outside.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it must be coming from. Mine's quieter.
Okay.
Monica, yours is significant. There you go. Sweet.
There we go. That was really strange. No, that is a really good point. Between how the entire community there acts as a moderator.
Yeah.
You got elected. Now, has the moderation staff when were you elected a moderator?
So myself and like one other moderator, Robertina, we were elected in 2020 last year. So I've been a moderator for just over 1 year. So I'm like the baby mod of the group. I'm the newest. So there are some people who've been moderators for like 10 years now.
Oh, wow. So after you got elected, and what a year to become a mod too. Oh my goodness. What was that onboarding like? How was that then? How was that, how long did it take you to kind of get up to speed? And what kind of help did you get from previous mods?
Okay, good question. So for like several years before I became a mod, I had been very active in the kind of general moderation that everyone's involved in. So like, I think I was like, we have a kind of a system of review to like check out the new posts that people have done and like correct the formatting and make comments and stuff, and kind of mods get alerted to stuff by flags. So we have a system of flagging, like, so you can flag stuff if it's spam or if it's offensive or if it's like not attempting to answer the question or it's like just really bad. So like kind of I was really active in doing that, in flagging stuff, reviewing stuff, also voting to close stuff. So like some questions are just not suitable for the site. They just don't fit the format, or they're not about Ubuntu, like they're asking about something else, like Fedora or Windows. It happens. Like, why is this here? So we have a system of closing those questions. So like I was super active in all that kind of moderation stuff. So like that, like you would hope that people who are like already kind of aware of like what kind of questions should be closed and what kind of posts should be deleted and all that would get elected as mods. So on our site, there are like so many active people who are like doing kind of moderation stuff, which is awesome. So like I would say that I was like a good choice as a moderator because I already kind of was quite active in moderation stuff. One of the reasons that that's good is that there's not really any onboarding for mods.
Right.
Just kind of throw you in the deep end.
Yeah, like I like literally woke up on the morning after the election, like, oh, what's all this stuff in the top bar? Like, oh, what are these things?
Oh, new buttons to press.
Exactly. Like, oh, I've got some buttons. There's actually loads of buttons in the kind of like secret broom cupboard of the site, which nobody's really telling you how to use. So like you're just immediately a moderator. You have all the mod powers. All you have to do is kind of like sign the agreement, or like click yes, I agree on the agreement, because you're not really signing it. But yeah, they do send an email with like lots of welcoming stuff. They like drag you into the private mod chat rooms. So there's also chat on Stack Exchange, because like Stack Exchange is so complicated and difficult to use and weird that we not only need a meta to like explain how it works, as well as a help center, we also need a chat to like kind of mop up all the extra confusion which is inevitably will arise, and also just hang out and talk rubbish, which is what I do. So yeah, like there's like kind of a mod only chat, or there's like a site wide, network wide mod only chat, which is called the Teachers Lounge. For some reason, and yeah, like you get dragged in there, and like people will say welcome to the Teachers Lounge or something, like congratulations. Like I got so many people congratulating me. That was basically the onboarding. It was just people congratulating. Like,
oh, that's so nice.
But yeah, like you are kind of encouraged to like ask people what to do and stuff like that, and your fellow mods will be like, I don't know, making fun of you. Or
How many mods are there at the moment? How sort of big is that smaller community within a community?
Yeah, so on Ask Ubuntu we've got 9 moderators at the moment. When I got elected, there were actually 12, but like a few of them sort of subsequently stood down. There was like a new moderator agreement, and some people just kind of decided to step down at that point, because I mean, like people, your life will like obviously change. You're going to have time more to do that kind of thing. So yeah. But I think kind of 9 is kind of plenty for Ask Ubuntu, even though like not all the mods are active all the time. Like we don't really need I can probably manage with like 2 or 3 people per day, like digging in and kind of handling the flags, mainly because we have a really great community moderation. There are like quite a lot of people who are just like actively reviewing and like deleting bad things and all that stuff.
So that's yay. So good job, Ask Ubuntu community, and making Xana and other moderators' jobs much better. So
yeah,
because I was just going to say, because how many questions? I mean, your site seems really super active, and so at first when you said 9, I'm like, that does not seem like enough. But if the community is doing a good job of weeding things out, it makes things much easier on you.
Yes, yeah. We get like around 200 questions per day, I think. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, something in that region. So like if I like was expected to like look at all of them and deal with them, that would be impossible. Yeah, I'd be like, you need to pay me for that. That's a job.
Yeah, that's a full-time job right there.
Yeah, but fortunately, I mean, I only kind of really, at a minimum, I think moderators have to like handle the flags and stuff. There won't be that many flags. Like maybe on a Monday there'll be 20, 30 flags. On the weekend maybe 10. You know, it's not bad at all.
With all of those questions coming in and all of this library of content and stuff, what do the mods have anything to do with sort of maintenance and keeping that stuff up to date, or is it all? How does all that stuff work?
Well, that's kind of a huge problem that we have. Like, what do I say? What do I say first? Like, kind of the philosophy of moderation that Stack Exchange have put out is that like moderators are exception handlers and like they kind of do as little as possible, and that's kind of not something I particularly agree with. I see kind of the role of a moderator as being more expansive. Like I would rather do as much as possible rather than as little as possible. Like I'd rather do as much as I have time for. So like definitely there's a huge need to like keep stuff up to date, and we really don't have a good way of doing that. Like that's the kind of major thing that really needs attention in my opinion. Like one thing that we really need to fix is like how do we deal with stuff being out of date? So like we can just delete stuff. Like I can delete anything I want, which is great. But like that's like not the kind of the policy. That's not the way things have been dealt with. Like if an answer becomes obsolete over time, like we don't remove it. We like maybe just add a note to it to say this doesn't work anymore. And like sometimes we have a question which for whatever reason has been really popular and has got like loads of upvotes, like loads of answers that are really highly upvoted, such that like if someone posts a new answer, no one's going to read it because it's like they're going to be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So like what we do to like keep stuff up to date is really a big problem, and like the community as a whole doesn't have a solution to that. Like I'm kind of seeing like people talking about it on Meta and stuff. I'm really interested to know like what people are going to come up with, because I personally really don't know the answer to that question. I'm kind of very against like I don't want to just throw stuff away because like it's not just like useful for like kind of tech support reasons. It's also kind of social history and like history of Ubuntu, like the kind of problems that people had in the past. Like that's something that's really interesting to me. So yeah. Like I hope we'll kind of like figure out ways to like keep stuff up to date. But you can always like ask a new question and like kind of close the old question as a duplicate of that question, make sure that the new question has got up-to-date answers. So there are kind of things we can do that are like maybe not optimal, but kind of work. And there's also like mods have got the ability to merge questions into each other, so like move all the answers from one question to another. So like stuff like that can really help. So I think like mods definitely have more power to like do like the like kind of heavy lifting that sometimes you need to do to kind of keep stuff up to date. But at the same time, like you don't want to be like the one making all the decisions about that. Like I think that, you know, you should be like what I think mods are there for is to be accountable to the users of the site for its atmosphere and its usefulness and all that stuff. Like, so what do you folks want? Like, that's kind of the question that we're asking. Not like, hi, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. Like, you don't want to impose your
vision on everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because it's the work of like so many people. It's like it's a collaborative work. You're not going to be doing a good thing by like just throwing a bunch of stuff out. So yeah.
And I think that this is something that, for Ubuntu documentation in general, is just something we're wrestling with, because you're right. It's that information that might be obsolete as far as figuring out how to do things, that, but it still has all that social information, so you want to archive it in some way. But you don't want to have like an answer for like 1204 come up when you're looking for something for 2004. And it's having that balance of clearly kind of tagging or identifying things as like, this is an obsolete or an archived answer for new stuff. Please see this.
So I can link to the things that do work. Like, I will say that kind of a lot of things that were posted for like 1204 still work for 2004. Like that is the case, fortunately. And also, like, one of the things that we do to sort of try to keep things up to date is like, just kind of, if the question's general and it's going to keep coming up, like, just remove the version information from it and let people like post answers for various versions and stuff like that. And like, it might be a little bit harder to find the answer that is for your version, but at least like it's going to be there. And also, like, you can always put like an index in the question saying like, this is for 2004, this is for 1804, stuff like that. So there's stuff we can do. But like, on the other hand, like, it would be great if we had kind of a system for archiving, kind of some kind of way of archiving questions that is really for that purpose. That's something that we don't have, and maybe that would be like a really good way to improve the sort of usefulness of those kind of old bits of the site.
It's tricky to filter the things that are still useful from the things that are less useful, but still want to keep. You don't really know what's going to be helpful. Sorry. No worries. Especially since a lot of Ask Ubuntu like posts and questions and answers have a lot of sort of authority in all the search engines, right? So people could find them from more or less anywhere, and you never know which ones are going to be the ones to come up. Right.
Like, I think like sometimes you an answer for whatever reason becomes really popular, and like if the question has a bad title, people are going to be like landing on the answer that like just doesn't help them with the thing they searched for. Like, so like my like personal that's my personal kind of thing that keeps me awake. Like, bad titles on the site, I need to go and fix the title so that people like actually find the thing they're searching for. Because like some of the titles are just like really misleading. Like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking about this, but like, you know, like how when you're like trying to install stuff with apt, and at the end you get the error, like something goes horribly wrong, and you get the error, user bin depackaged, dpkg returned an error code 1. And what that means, everyone, is that something went wrong. It's not at all specific. So like any question with that title is going to attract millions of people who have like totally different problems. So like, I just like regularly search for that and just remove those titles.
This explains so many of my search results now, because I'm also new, and I think sometimes if you don't know kind of what error code to put in, then
like there are some informative error codes that dbkg produces. Like, I think 100 means that it's been deleted, which is a rare problem. And 2 is like there was a problem with one of the scripts, I think. But like everything else is 1. Like literally everything else is 1. So like, it's impossible.
I didn't know that. That's super interesting. So if we can move on slightly, because we've got like about 15 minutes left. So I thought the next question I had would be, do you have any advice or any encouragement for anybody listening for getting involved with Ask Ubuntu, or if they're thinking about wanting to become a moderator, how they might do that, etc.?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So like, like the really nice thing about Ask Ubuntu is that like anybody can post an answer or a question. You only need to like register an account. So you can like just start posting. Like if you don't find the answer to your question, you can post a question. If you've found something out and you don't find the question to answer, to post your answer to, you can post a question and then answer it. So and kind of that's totally allowed. Like if you just like make some awesome discovery, you can post both the question and the answer to it. So if you just want to share your knowledge with the world, like my favorite thing on Ask Ubuntu is like when you like look at your profile page or your activity page in your profile, it like has this number in it that tells you like it says how many people you've reached, which means it's based on like page view counts of all the pages where you've written stuff. And like, and now I have that number there that's like 5 million or something like that. Like, it's just so great to know that you've reached like it's 5 million people have seen your post, and you're like, well, I hope they were correct. Like, better go have a look at those, make sure they're okay.
Oh no.
But yeah, like that, I find that so motivating. Like I'm not a person who writes software. I don't really know how to do anything like that to help the Linux project, but like for me, like contributing to Ask Ubuntu is my way of like kind of just helping with Linux. It's my participation in Linux, which is, you know, like, and there's like, it's so easy to find something that you can do that's useful. Like just editing posts, there's a huge need to edit posts, like, and give them descriptive titles. like there's we would be so grateful to people who like come and edit stuff. We'll give you meaningless internet points and stuff.
We love meaningless internet points. So
yeah, I mean, that's so good.
Yeah, that's just but that is such a great point that I think that there's still a bit of this notion that contribution equals development, and while that is extremely important, there's so much else.
Yeah, there's so much you can do.
And I think for people, and what was really inspiring to hear you say previously, because I've always felt it's like that I can't contribute to Ask Ubuntu because I'm not as technically minded as others. But when you said that you would go through and say, it's like, okay, I know enough to research this. And it's, yeah, and that's just so, I know that's just, so if any of you take anything away from this, that there's that there's a way that you can get started there. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Like there would be totally like, when I was like very, very actively writing answers on Ask Ubuntu, there would like be like two kinds of answers that I would be trying to write. Like one would be like where I was able to research the question, and like I know it's really hard to research stuff when you know nothing. You don't know how to research it. So like if you have a bit of knowledge, if you already have a bit of knowledge, you're going to be able to like research and find answers. And then there's kind of another answer that I would be able to write, even though I'm not like, I don't know, my knowledge of Linux is quite basic. I know stuff about the command line on a basic level. So like people would come with these problems that I could easily see what they didn't understand. And I would be able to explain it in like a simple way. So like if you're like if you like explaining stuff, which many people do, like it's really there's like a huge need for that. Like just to kind of go through those like really simple problems, because like when, like, for example, the first time I started using the terminal, like, it's like, where am I? What is this? Like, I kind of like think like it's like a huge hurdle to just get started, to realize that there's like the terminal has a kind of a location, and like the stuff that's in that directory there where you are is going to affect the commands that you put in. And like there's so many questions that kind of arise because people don't know how to get into that. They don't understand that. So like just explaining like that kind of basic stuff, you can answer so many questions like that. There are so many people needing help with that basic stuff. And even like there's like new questions about that need like new answers, rather than being like redirected to old stuff. Because like when you know nothing, not only is it difficult to research, but it's also difficult to adapt the information that you find to your case. Like how does this thing relate to that thing, which is another problem that I had when I was first trying to install. So like, yeah, like don't think like I don't really know anything, I can't contribute to Ask Ubuntu. Like, you definitely know something. You definitely know enough to like to be able to answer some of the questions we get. And on the other hand, there are so many questions that we get that are like so hard to answer.
Oh yeah.
But if you have the same hardware, if you've struggled through anything, if you're struggling with it, you're gonna find the answer to some people's problem. Like struggling is helping. If you keep on struggling, you're gonna figure something out.
That needs to be on a tote bag or something. So I see we have a question in the chat. So would you be okay taking a few questions from our audience?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
Awesome. Let me post this up here. So Zanna, did your teaching background have any influence on participating in Ask Ubuntu?
Yeah, definitely. Like thanks, Technastic, my good friend. Like, yes, like I think like definitely I do have a teaching background. I teach science, I teach physics, and although not very well, and also I teach English. So like yeah, explaining stuff, that's kind of the connection. Like there's kind of a lot of hostility on Ask Ubuntu and on Stack Exchange generally to questions that appear to be homework. But like I feel that like, you know, we don't really know like how much help people are able to get from their teachers or their institutions or whatever. So like I would rather we just answer those questions with like very high quality explanation, like kind of the like, you know, ask the person asking the question to check out the output of this command. So have a look at the output of this command. What does this tell you? And it's okay, now you've got that. Have a look at this. And what does that tell you? And then you kind of like lead them to the answer in a kind of teachery manner. So like, yeah, that relates to like some of the questions that I would try to answer, some of the answers that I would try to write to clarify things that are like difficult for people who are, yeah, just trying to learn stuff.
Nice. That's good that it helps in that way. What you've got teaching, you've got Ask Ubuntu. Is there any other projects or anything else that you're involved in that you participate in?
Well, before I got addicted to Ask Ubuntu, I was spending most of my time writing book reviews. So like really, yeah, I don't know. Like what else am I doing at the moment? Cooking. I like cooking. Yes.
We like cooking too. Oh my gosh, how have we gotten through 54 minutes of an office hour and we haven't brought food into?
I don't know. I always talk about food nonstop.
Same. Oh, we did have one more question pop up here. Why Ask Ubuntu and not Stack Overflow for an ordinary user? Well,
great. I'm glad you're asking that. So like kind of a huge amount of the questions that we get on Ask Ubuntu, I think, would probably be off topic on Stack Overflow, because they're like not about programming. They're just about like how do I use this stuff? How do I get Ubuntu to boot? I think that's the most common problem.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I don't understand the scope of Stack Overflow that well, but like I think that our scope is like more of an end user kind of scope, and it's focused on Ubuntu rather than on anything else. So like if you're kind of struggling with those basic end user issues, then like Ask Ubuntu is going to be a lot more suitable. I think you're going to find the expertise more easily. And also I think Ask Ubuntu is a bit more friendly than Stack Overflow.
A little bit smaller, a little bit of a smaller community, so people, it's a bit more accessible, I suppose. Yeah, it's cool.
I don't know, like I'm a bit scared of Stack Overflow, but I'm sure it's not as bad as I think it is. I'm sure it's not.
Well, I've only ever copied and pasted from Stack Overflow.
Yeah, so. I'm using Stack Overflow frequently, but like actually participating there is a bit slightly scary.
A bit intimidating, yeah. Well, thank you for answering that. Oh, whoops, and I just put that back up. So any other questions? And we've got 4 more minutes. Ta-da! No, but
go ahead.
But I just wanted to say that I think that, especially after watching this, and please, when we post the link, please feel free to share this video. It will be on Twitch VOD for a week, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you could be watching this a year or 2 or 4 from now. But I think that just is any kind of last bits of advice for somebody thinking of getting started with contributing to the community, whether it's Ask Ubuntu or anything else?
Don't delete Python.
Oh.
Sorry.
Too soon.
We get a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and we did have one more question from Technastic pop up. How do you think we can increase participation on Meta?
Well, we could make the site even more inscrutable and difficult to use, and then people would be like, "Oh my god, how does this work?"
That's definitely one way.
Meta gets kind of only the questions that get a lot of upvotes get kind of noticed, kind of get put in people's faces on the main site. So like. Right. The questions that get downvoted don't get kind of put in people's view, and that can be a problem because on Meta, like voting kind of indicates whether you agree or disagree, which is kind of not the case on the main site, where like it's a reflection of the quality of the post, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So like maybe like. People could just upvote more posts on Meta. Yeah, I think like possibly like the site would kind of need to be slightly redesigned to like direct people to Meta a bit more. I think people used to be more active on Meta in the past, but like now most of the users that we have know how it works. Or maybe maybe the site has just become easier to use over time, or there's just like not that many questions left to ask about. How should we arrange our, because we use Meta to like decide on our policies as well, like whether X should be on topic or not, and what should we do with questions like this. So kind of we've established all that stuff. So
I guess that's a good thing, right? If there isn't much participation on Meta, it means there's something's going right.
Yeah, like that's kind of my view. Like it's good for people to participate in Meta. Like one of the things that we do with Meta that's really cool is like announce events like this. And like last year we had like our 10th anniversary, the 10th anniversary of the site, and so there was a lot of stuff on Meta about that. So like it would be good if we could like drag more people to get involved with that stuff. But like we do our best. The community managers, the awesome Stack Exchange people, made us a banner to like bring people to the 10th anniversary meta posts and stuff.
Oh, awesome!
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we just please let everyone know that we would love to have any and all Ask Ubuntu people here, and if there's ever any like Ubuntu on air things that you all want to host, let us know, and we would be so happy to help like turn the reins over. So yeah. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. Like it's been really cool to talk with you folks, and yeah, it's been really exciting to just talk about Ask Ubuntu and hopefully like get more people to come and help us answer questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I know I've learned a little bit about Ask Ubuntu. I hope people in chat have learned a little bit about Ask Ubuntu. But we're at the hour, so thank you for joining us and for answering our questions. That was super informative.
Really great.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Come again. We'll have you again. It'll be great. Before we sign off and end the broadcast, I'll just say again that next week it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do Monica is going to be on her own again, but we're going to be hopefully doing some gaming and stuff. So if people want to hang around and chat about games, that'd be great. And there's this forum post where you can recommend games, and maybe you can even join in during the stream next week. Thank you again, Zanna, for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
Love to have you back again.
And thank you everyone in our audience here who came out and asked questions. And thank you to everybody who is watching this afterwards. So, and
awesome.
All right.
And with that, we'll